So, in theory, this thing is on. But I am not entirely sure how to tell. So, I'm going to check. Let's see. Oh, I see me. Thank you. I can't tell who you are because unless you sign into StreamYard, you just pop up as Facebook user. So, hello, Facebook users. And thank you for being here. I am going to I'm going to talk today about practical ways to get into your heart space. And so I guess I'm going to start by saying if you want to create something, including if you want to manifest a relationship, uh, you really, all you need to do is to decide and to become the person that has it. So sounds simple, right? um, for most people, I found it's really not that simple. We tend to be unconsciously driven by our beliefs, our perceptions. Often we have emotional wounds that kind of pop up and oh, hi Alicia. And so these things will often get in the way and they will cause us to feel a lot of doubt. We can have other symptoms too. I know I don't love being on camera. This is a thing I really have had to work into. And so sometimes the way that my body responds is to literally feel like someone is sitting on my chest. So, but I remember when I was manifesting my relationship, it it uh, it felt much worse. There was intense fear, there was worry, and so why am I talking about these things? Because I experienced all of them until I really learned how to access my heart center. And so I want to clarify, your heart center is not your heart chakra. So your heart chakra is one of your levels of your energy system, but your heart space, your heart center, this is, they call this the portal to the divine. This is your connection to infinity. And so I found that whenever I was really overcome by these feelings of fear or anger or jealousy or whatever it was that I was feeling, if I could move myself into the heart, my heart space, I could actually think rationally. So one thing I believe in brain scans, they showed that when you're in gratitude, your entire brain lights up. But once you start to worry or stress or feel those really low vibrational energies, your brain shuts down. And what's happening is that your body or your mind is being flooded with adrenaline and it shuts off the reasoning parts of your brain. And so it can make it really difficult to shift the perspective that you're experiencing. But when you move into your heart center, again, your brain lights up and you can think and you tend to really think more positively. You can see that most of what we see that we don't like is really just it's our perspective. And so when you are in your heart center, you are able to actually access more positive perspectives. You can look at your situation and think more clearly and see that there actually are other possibilities than the negative story that's running through your mind. And so if I were to define in a nutshell how I manifested my relationship from pretty much we were barreling towards divorce. There was papers, there was all sorts of nastiness. And so really I made a decision. I got into my heart center and I hung on for dear life. So, but I understand that that's not really great instructions. So I feel like getting into the heart center is one of the main things that I like to help people do, because it has such a significant impact on your life, and not just with your partner, but everybody. I remember I was in a disagreement with a really close friend who was also a family member. And it was when I was able to move into my heart space that I was able to let that go and completely just shift the energy between us. Even though when she would call my kids or to talk to my husband, I would have to leave the room because the physical response of just pure rage that I was having was overwhelming. And so whenever I knew she was on the phone, I would have to leave the room. And so other times I know that I might go into something with a negative perspective. And if I can move into my heart space and really feel into that, I can choose something new. And that's the trajectory I'm on. That's what I'm going to see. So an example of this was, actually the best example of this was my husband and I, after we had started to reconcile, we got into a really big fight. And so the next day he was sending me messages like, we need to continue on with the plan to divorce. Like, we don't belong together. All these things that make you, when you read them, feel like somebody is jamming a dagger into your heart. And so I remember in that moment remembering, because here's where I'm going to admit my guilt. I don't always remember to do this. In fact, a lot of times I get pulled right into regular life garbage. And so I remembered, if I just really feel into that heart space, I can shift things. So I literally spent the day. I spent the day deciding what it is I want, and I lived into that and felt that, moved into my heart space and just radiated that energy outwards. And so he had said like he was going to move out and he was going to blah, 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 blah. So he came home from work that day, and I just continued to radiate this energy and to really just live into my heart space. And he came home, he went upstairs, packed himself a bag, came downstairs and sat on the couch and didn't leave. And that is sort of an idea of kind of how I've used it all the time. And so, because it really is our connection to the divine, and moving into your heart space is actually it's a regular part of spiritual practices for a number of religions and just spiritual practices. So I guess the best thing to I guess I'm here to give you some practical tips on how to actually access this, because it doesn't really have to be hard, but it's important to recognize it's a muscle. So sometimes people can have they can struggle a little to get there. So I'm usually looking for the easiest ways to take people there. I take my clients through a number of meditations or perspective shifts that can help you really access that space. And so that I would say, of the most practical ways, if you want to start to access your heart space, raising your level of awareness is important. I know I've said that before because I can't stress that enough. Awareness is one of the most important tools that you're going to use. It doesn't matter what you want to do in your life. If you have personal awareness, it's very empowering. And so once you have this awareness, you want to make sure that you are able to ground yourself, or to get yourself really centered. And I will do another video or a live talking about grounding, getting grounded and centering, and ways that you can go about doing that. But because it's really it can be really difficult, particularly if you've not had a lot of experience getting into your heart center, to get there if you are in a really stressful moment. So I don't recommend at all using this as like your pull out of your pocket to save you tool, unless you've done this before. So once you're centered and grounded, right? And you can do that by becoming present. You want to, depending on the situation, there's a couple things you can do. You can, if you want to apply it when it's in relation to another person, the best way that I would suggest is to do a perspective shift. So to take your own perspective completely out of the situation and to imagine what it is that the other person is thinking and what it is that they are feeling, completely, as I said, devoid of your perspective. Remove yourself entirely. And so imagine if you were that person and you had grown up the way they grew up and lived the life that they lived and had all the experiences that they had and had the dislikes and the likes and the opinions and the general life view that they have. How is it that you would feel about a particular situation? And you're going to find, if you are able to do that by making yourself completely separate, that you actually will find that you can move into that heart space and have compassion, because compassion definitely is a heart-centered connection, gratitude. And so this is where you actually feel into something that you are really absolutely grateful for. Because we can say gratitudes without feeling them. I'm totally guilty of that sometimes. But I also notice that it doesn't have the same effect. And so if you have young children or if you have pets, you can really move into your heart center by connecting to that feeling, that loving sensation that you have with them. Other ways can be, I like to take people through a meditation, as I said, but really what you're doing is you are moving your awareness into your heart center. And so what most people don't really know where their awareness is. If I were to ask you to close your eyes and find your focus, you are going to want to just notice wherever it is your point of focus is. And for most people, it's going to be somewhere up here. But if you're experiencing perhaps some sort of like emotional distress, your focus might be in your throat, or your focus could possibly be in your heart, in your chest. And for some people, it will move into their solar plexus and into your stomach. So as you'll notice, when you have emotional angst or stress, often your awareness is on one of your chakras. And so, but when you are going to move your awareness, when you're going to move it into your heart space, you're going to determine where it is. So if it's in your face, or I guess in your head, you're going to want to basically sort of envision, and it's not really a sensation that you have, but you notice almost where your attention goes. You're going to push your attention down. So if I were going to tell you to, notice your chin, and then notice your throat, and then move it down and notice this space. And so you're not just going to notice that, because if I said, notice your chest area, you're going to notice that. And if you have an experience moving into your heart center, then you might begin to get a sensation. But if you don't, it might feel sort of just like a blip. And again, because it's a muscle, the more you do this, the more you are going to be able to access this space. And the more evident it's going to be to you. And it will literally start to feel like a warmth that spreads outwards. And actually, the Heart Math Institute shows us that when we are in a high vibrational space, we actually are, the magnetic field of our heart is actually radiating out farther. And so I digress. You want to put your awareness into this space here. And then you want to begin to take really slow, intentional breaths, really noticing the air as it comes into your body. And you want to feel it as it fills your lungs, and really start to notice your heart or your chest expand as you breathe into this space. And as you do, once you start to feel that sensation, you want to begin to sort of notice it and try to spread it outwards. Breathe into it and spread it outwards until it begins to fill your body. And then you want to begin to move it outwards. But again, these are things that you're going to do as you have more practice and it becomes stronger. It's a thing that I don't really have to go through a session of meditation. I can be pumping gas and just draw it in. And aside from that, it works magic in your life, it feels amazing. It's literally like that Twitter-pated feeling, at least for me, that Twitter-pated feeling when you first start to fall in love, or when you're first in love and you cannot, and you just want to be with this person all the time. And so the reason that this is really powerful when you are manifesting in a relationship is because if you want to rekindle passion and that spark in your relationship, and you want to feel into it, you want a way to feel into it. And this is basically what I did, was I felt into that feeling of falling in love and basically recreated that experience again. Because often in relationships, we get into these patterns of just doing the same thing all the time, and familiarity absolutely breeds contempt. So I know that when I'm always in patterns of like doing my regular scheduled routines and the humdrum, there's no excitement, there's no, nothing new, then, I notice that I can start to become more irritated. I can start to let those negative stories really catch me and pull me into them. And the next thing you know, I'm starting a fight or engaging in one or what have you. But if I am living from my heart center, I'm not really feeling that pull. What people say are not, the things they say and do, they're not hitting those wounds inside. Okay, so that was basically, and everybody's home now. So basically that's kind of some of the practical ways that you can get in. Is you want to use gratitude, or you want to use compassion, or you want to shift in perspective, or you literally just want to use that exercise where you begin to move your awareness down and then breathe into that space to open it up, and just to continue practicing doing that, and it will pay off. So if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer some questions before I wrap up today's live. And if you are watching the replay, just put hashtag replay. And if you have questions, people watching the replay, I would be happy to, answer them. And so I think I'm going to wrap up today's live. And I will see you next Thursday. I haven't decided what the topic's going to be, but I will definitely let you know towards the end of the week. Or I guess this is the end of the week. So by the weekend. Have a great evening.